There has been overwhelming support for Sentry vs. Superman since my first debunk, so I'm here to bring it to you straight up. If you want in depth content on both characters, check out my previous videos on them. Without further ado, I'm going to cover both. I'm going to do 10 feats that I think are super important for both characters, and then I'm going to break down how I think it goes down and who I think wins. I hope you guys enjoy. Smash the like button. 500 plus likes would be glorious. And yeah, let's begin. First up, we are talking about Sentry. Sentry is a character who was subjected to a super soldier serum that then thrust him into a quantum flux and essentially made him a pseudo god within Marvel. Now, what are some of the craziest things Sentry has accomplished as this reality warping schizo? Well, for one, he's killed a symbiote celestial. This was later confirmed by a writer to be the case after he put a fucking hole in its head. Now, this is important because regular celestials casually scale above the multiverse, even forming stories themselves, narratives, and the things that govern all things that make up dimensionality. This celestial was controlled and empowered, yet was put on a t shirt by the likes of Sentry, easily putting his AP in the outer to high outer range. Next, for feats, we have the fact that he battled Galactus. While this is not really something shown on panel, we have from several sources in verse that he did indeed at one point pull up on a fed Galactus and throw hands with him, and obviously lived to tell the tale. He also, at this point, I think it's important to note, did have Nate Gray with him, who confirms he put in work. This is also given that Galactus can go against Celestials and is a cosmic absolute. Easily can be argued the outer to high outer range. Next up for feats to examine is his ties to the White Hot Room. Now, this is very important considering what the White Hot Room exactly entails. This is a part of the true Phoenix Force. This is outside dimensions, even stories themselves, as stories can be portrayed within the room itself. The Void, and thus Sentry, has ties to this White Hot Room and can go there, as well as gains power from there, which instantly puts it in the high outer range. Next, we have the fact that Sentry can alter comics themselves. Now, throughout his history, though it is a little convoluted, we've seen for a fact that Sentry can go back and impact comics directly, even turning them almost into this own personal diary. Not only is it fantastic scaling and reality warping, it's also a case of fictional transcendence and how extreme it gets for Sentry. Next, we have the obvious fact that he's above the void. Now, this is important because people talk about how strong the void is, which is valid, given it can kill pretty much all the heroes on Earth if it is let loose, and it scares Yggdrasil Strange, easily outer to high outer arguments right there. But what is also important is Sentry is capable of beating the void and has done so multiple times. So we can't say he scales below. We have to say he either scales to or above the void itself. Next feat to examine, it's the fact that he was above Sorcerer Supreme Loki and Yggdrasil Doctor Strange. Now I'm going to give it to you straight. Loki, even without being Sorcerer Supreme, can go toe-to-toe with classic Doctor Strange. Go watch my content on classic Doctor Strange. Easily high outer bullshit, right? This is an empowered Loki and a Doctor Strange empowered by the modern construct of Yggdrasil, which contains dimensions and things even beyond, even non-dimensions, right? It's all powered by that. Void was straight up above that, as was Sentry. Next, for feats to examine, we have the time he put down the likes of Ares. Now, Ares is a god in Marvel, granted a lot of people give him shit, but he does scale to the likes of Hercules and Thor, and thus given this fact, and the fact that he can fight primordial beings that predate even existence in Marvel, you can easily give this feat of legitimately killing Ares in the outerversal range. Next, we have the fact that we saw in the Merge Sentry run. Sentry not only can kill these gods, primordial beings, concepts even, he can kill ideas themselves. So not only does he have the fictional transcendence arguments and all these things he's done, but he also straight up can kill these very ideas themselves, which is very, very high tier reality warping and conceptual destruction. Next, we have the infamous feat of Sentry going toe to toe with World War Hulk. Now, granted, however you want to interpret this Hulk, like I don't think it's one of the strongest Hulks. I think it's top 5, but it's not number 1. It's still outer to high outer. Like this Hulk was putting hands on Strange. He was putting hands on, even if it's a fake, Kmart Black Bolt was still legit. Doctor Strange had to pull out Zom, go toe to toe with him. He pulled up on all the X-Men. Like this was a character. He beat up Hercules, put down Thing, runs into Sentry, and Sentry does very well against this version of Hulk in a straight up physical brawl, which, like I said, AP wise and durability wise, easily outer to high outer. And then finally, for the feats I want to examine, is when he KO'd Blue Marvel. Now, easily you can say, and you'd be correct, Blue Marvel was not going all out. However, Sentry was heavily nerfed in this fight. And the fact that he was able to KO someone that can go against Ivory Kings, oh my god, I think Blue Marvel is one of the most slept on characters in comics. And the fact that Sentry was able to put him down is insanely impressive. Now, that pretty much concludes the feats we're going to go over for Sentry. I just wanted to demonstrate how absurdly powerful he is and what exactly the range and scope of his power reaches. Obviously, I didn't mention the Molecule Man one, but I mentioned it in my previous Sentry videos. These were just broad feats that I think really covers what he's capable of, and him mind hacking the comic book writers and altering comics themselves is more impressive than Molecule Man. Don't at me. But moving on from this, let's go over what Superman brings to the table. Now, Superman's one of the most controversial characters in comics off the strength of he has so many forms. However, we are taking modern Superman, who luckily for us in Infinite Frontier is essentially compositive, right? The best of. And so I'm going to review some of the best feats from modern day Superman to go against the best of composite Sentry. First up, he was able to recently break the Eye of the Zone. Now, this is very important because this concept was described as essentially breaking through something that was infinite, endless, timeless in comparison to the universe, and obviously like history itself was insignificant to this, and he was able to punch through it to the point that he accidentally punched through time itself, which is very impressive in the landscape of DC Comics. Next feat to analyze was him putting down King of Hell, Doomsday. Now, this is a character who at this point, Doomsday, according to Supergirl, had surpassed even the likes of ideas of religions and religious constructs. Even realms that did not have religion and gods believed in Doomsday. Doomsday was able to go to hell, got amped by all the layers there, and was taken literally using Etrigan's, an outerversal being, someone who can fight Spectre, and was using him as true toys. This King of Hell Doomsday would go on to fight Supergirl, who was in an armor designed to fight Presence himself. Did well against her and Martian Manhunter, then got sealed there for a little bit. After all of hell jumped in the seal. He eventually broke the seal and returned to Earth, where Superman put him down. This is easily high outer for Superman. Next, we have his battle with Gog on steroids. Now, Gog returned, and this is important because Gog, even back in the day in DC, had ties to the source itself, the source of all creation within DC. And this is incredibly important because scaling even to the source then, getting stronger later, like arguably being better now, insanely broken. Like that's incredibly important to note too, because obviously having source tier reality warping too, and Superman being able to go against that, very crucial. Next, we have him battling Source and Orion. We don't have the conclusion of this battle yet. This is very
recent, but being able to take on an Orion who already scaled the dark side, but now has the full amped potential of the source thanks to Highfather's emergency protocol. Superman going against him, stopping his punches and brawling with him, easily high outer. It literally scales to the source. Next, he can damage and is capable of putting down Time Trapper Doomsday. Now, I have already described to you King of Hell Doomsday, and how he's easily high outer. Time Trapper Doomsday scales blatantly above him, bully him too. And this Superman not only can fight him, but he's straight up, as admitted by Time Trapper Doomsday, capable of killing him and letting him ascend to true godhood. Next, we have the fact that he took on a controlled Justice League, which included the likes of Shazam and Zatanna. Now, some people waver on their stances on the Justice League. However, I think we all can agree Shazam, given he somewhat scales to Black Adam in the modern sense, should be at least outer to high outer, given Black Adam was able to help fight against the army of Pariah and some of the power of the Great Darkness. Given Superman was walking them down, this is an insanely impressive feat. Next feat, his power, will, and story helped save creation from Pariah. Now, Pariah, as I just stated, was using power from the Great Darkness itself. This power was blatantly stopped by the story of Superman as he helped fight back and stop it from spreading on DC's creation map. And Pariah himself even said the story and the hope of Superman, this power was the greatest power he ever experienced. Next, he was able to take on All Magic Bizarro. Now, this is an insane story. I don't know if you guys read this. I covered it on my channel. Bizarro went to the primordial aspect of DC that housed all primordial magic. And this beast absorbed it all because he's the anti-Superman. He's the reverse. So instead of being weak to magic, he can embrace it. And he took all this magic, went psycho, and pulled up on Superman. And Superman was able to brawl with him. And was taking hits from all the magic in DC. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The fact he survived that just shits on the weaknesses meta of magic. It just really shows he's not special against it, but given his willpower, he can go against it. Next, the infamous recent statement of concepts have lost meaning. Now, Superman straight up said BFR kind of doesn't work on him because time, space, and all these concepts men talk about and physics and science talks about are relevant to him. Now, bare minimum, this is outerversal. You can argue high, given how DC is constructed, but bare minimum, outerversal, just given they don't have any meaning to him anymore. And then finally, he was able to casually stop a demon that was bullying Black Adam. This was a demon that was fighting a Black Adam in the modern sense, so we already scaled him to outer, high outer in this video. And then you get the fact he was struggling with this demon, and then Superman at one hand stops the attack and just bullies. Absolutely outrageous. So overall, he has insane feats as well. But is it enough to go up against Sentry in the Void? Let's get into the breakdown. Now, before we conclude who I think personally wins, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my Discord. I'm probably going to bring back debates on the channel and my live streams, letting people randomly come on and chop it up with me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to get the community more active. So definitely check that out. Now back to this battle, right? Let's go over the obvious first. One, Sentry has a deeper tool bag. I don't care how you try to argue it as a Superman fan. Sentry can do more shit. He can do cooler shit, and he's more versatile. That's without a doubt. The question goes from there, can Superman handle that? And I would say yes. Superman has faced characters just as versatile as Sentry, who and also had very similar tool sets and abilities as Sentry to the same degree of power, if not more. So he might not be as versatile. The question becomes, okay, can he overcome that versatility with the stats? Is he stronger? Is he faster? And can he put down Sentry? Well, given how strong modern Superman is, given how extreme his stats are, I absolutely think he can accomplish this. And let me put this in perspective for Marvel fans, right? I have Superman at around current Immortal Thor tier. I personally, and I said it in another video, I probably favor Thor in that matchup. I think Thor would pretty handily, this Immortal Thor right now, pretty handily would beat up Sentry and put him down. Given I think Superman's relative there, I hope that kind of shows you the logic I'm following. I think he just outscales right now in the current sense. Blatantly, you can get Superman the source tier in the modern setting. And I think this is enough to put down Sentry. Just outstats him. And yes, you could put down Sentry. He's been down for years. But, anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you agree or disagree, regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this matchup, and I hope you go watch my content on both characters. But yeah, anyways, it's been your boy, Dr. Slash, and remember, it's Yancey Street, bitches.